Welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episode and we will discuss on the rise of the global south, power shift or economic reset. We have our world famous speakers, Mr. Rob Enderle and Mr. Jerry. Mr. Rob, how you want to define today's topic, the rise of global south or power uh, shift or economic reset?
Well, in terms of defining the conflict, because in a way the argument is put forth as an either or, but I think we could argue that it is both. It's an economic shift and a power increase. The expansion of BRICS is a showcase of both. That's the BRICS added Saudi Arabia, Iran, the UAE, Egypt, Ethiopia, and Indonesia. And basically, that allows it to compete. Well, allows it to control nearly half the world's population, and it contains what you could argue is the dominant amount of global energy resources. So it's hugely economically powerful, and then powerful in its own sense because of the amount of control it has. It creates a geopolitical counterweight to the G7, which is incredibly important. In terms of being able to showcase both that economic power and the very real power of the populations that it controls. One of the interesting aspects is that they practice as active non-alignment, which means they don't really align with the West or the East. They use both and position both against each other, which is again a kind of a power play, but using underlying economics or their purchase power to drive their influence. And then finally. They're working heavily for institutional reform. They're fighting against the UN Security Council. And I think they're well founded in this. They believe that's it's an outdated construct, and they argue that global governance that doesn't recognize their countries isn't governance at all. It's dominance, and so they're pushing back against that dominance fairly effectively. So I think you could argue that it's not an either or. It's an economic reset, and it is a power shift. And then I'll pass on to Yuri.
Thank you. Mr. Jerry, how you want to define or analyze today's topic?
First of all, thank you, gentlemen, Sharif and Rob, for the word. I'm pleased to be here. First of all, I would like to position myself, tell you who I am briefly. I am coming from the Czech Republic, which is part of the European Union. So this is my position demographically, and my position personally is I am a micro-entrepreneur, micro-solopreneur. From this point of view, I believe that I connect people, I podcast, I build communities of business people, and I build networks. And I believe this partnership is very crucial in today's world. Rob was mentioning many things, interesting things, and there I see, I don't see so much into the politics. I'm not an expert on this, but I would like to talk from the business perspective, that I believe that there are some possibilities to bridge the countries via friendly business, supporting each other. And more of this, I will say in the next round.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, my next question for you is the Global South gaining real power or just economic activities, or what your analysis for Global North? And you have strategic understanding of the large corporation. How you want to analyze this point?
Well, that's the same point we started with, but sure, we can take it a little farther. I mean, that what's clearly happening is, and you've got an upcoming question on tariffs, which I'll drift into. What's happened, at least recently, with the advent of the U.S. tariffs and opening up trade wars, is it significantly weakened the existing power structure, as we look at the global South, one of the things they're doing is attempting to get off the U.S. dollar and re-energize their own currencies as trade, and to separate themselves from the SWIFT system, which is largely U.S. dominated. So that once again would indicate a fairly significant economic and very real power shift. They're attempting to drive much in line with what I mentioned before in their effort to reorganize the United Nations and particularly restructure the Security Council so that they're not so heavily disadvantaged.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mr. Giri, in terms of Europe and Czech Republic, how you want to analyze this question? Is the global South gaining real power, or is just more economic activities? And what happening in Europe? What happening in your countries?
Yes. I would like to follow up on what Rob said. That from my perspective, and I would like to say that this is my personal opinion only. As I am an English teacher, I use three medias today, which is number one is CNN, second is BBC, and the third is Al Jazeera. So I see there 3 points of view, from 2 points of view from the Western, I believe, a point of view, and one from the other side. However, I would be very pleased if maybe you can give us, Sharif, some also tip for media in Asia. I would be very, very happy for that, so that I can follow that as well. However, what I see there from the economic point of view, I see that Africa is very interesting now. However, in Africa, there has always been influence from other countries, and there I see a great influence from China, which surprised me a lot. So many people are telling me that China is interfering a lot in Africa. And also is China interfering a lot in Sri Lanka, for example, and in other countries. Now we see the conflict between China and Taiwan. And also yesterday I was watching some video because I'm following Chinese economy, and there the ladies were shipping goods only to Russia. So there I see a connection between Russia and China as well, some connection. However, I have many friends in India and Bangladesh also, and there I see a great potential in the IT business. And from the last question was about the Czech Republic. The Czech Republic, as you know, of course, is the member of the EU, and we are. I see some, because I have a contact. My colleague is working in the Czech Trade, which is a company which works international import and export between countries, and he is connected a lot to China. However, many people of my colleagues are connected to Taiwan. So this is very interesting that some of them are interconnected to the influence of the Western, some of them are connected to the China, and now I'm talking from the business perspective. Yes, only. So everything that I was saying was from the business, not so much from the political perspective, but from the business perspective. And because I would like to give you more space to talk, I would leave it for now and give you back word. Thank you, Sharif.
Thank you. Definitely, I want to share my views, but we have our new friend, Colin Fried. Can you hear me? Colin, can you hear me? I think she is only listening. Anyway, I just want to share some of the views, because recently I'm observing from Asia, definitely BBC, CNN and Al Jazeera, they are very high quality media, and they share many informations and other things. Colin, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. I want to just give you opportunity to share your view about the rise of Global South, power shift, or economic reset. How you want to define, how you want to share your view.
Well, I don't know that I know enough about the subject to actually have a great opinion about it. I'd really like to be able to listen if I could today.
Okay, sure. Thank you. You can listen. We have our other panelists, Mr. Ravinder Lee and Giri. So if you see this South Asian context, that is the important. I just want to share that in media, there are a lot of misinformation and disinformations. It's a lot. And because of the social media, anybody come as a journalist, and anybody can share anything. So that is one of the challenging point for this media and everything. So the media house, they have to be more responsible. In terms of politics, recently I saw that country like Bangladesh, many young people, they come to politics. They said enough, it's enough. We want to contribute in the politics and we want to remove corruptions and everything. So that creates some tension and challenges in between the previous politicians or old politician or experienced politicians and new politicians. And secondly, I think the media, there is also tension in between India and Bangladesh because of this misinformation and disinformations. And finally, when we discuss about this business, I believe that AI creating a very interesting impact even in South Asia, even in Bangladesh and India, and we are also partner of Africa. We are observing African communities and nations are playing a major role, and definitely through this program, we want to learn more from Rob Enderle's regarding this tech companies, because tech companies right now from Silicon Valley, they're playing a very impactful contributions in Global South. So Mr. Rob Enderle, what you want to share? You are strategic, you make a strategy for large corporations in Silicon Valley. So what's your views? Because they have a huge impact in South Asia.
Well, certainly the industry is very much aware of of access to low cost labor. The current U.S. administration, though, is very focused on trying to return jobs to the U.S. And so they're putting in place a number of programs that makes it very difficult for these companies to expand their capabilities globally. However, the tariffs are doing the exact opposite. We just recently saw both Boeing and almost a Boeing move significant manufacturing capacity into Canada, largely as a result of the tariffs. And I expect that there are other programs going in place that have identified the logistics problems, both from the Russia-Ukraine war and the tariff trade war, and forcing companies to recognize that they need to diversify their sources much more broadly, so as these political situations escalate and mature, they can respond to that without massively or significantly increasing prices, which of course would have a significant adverse impact on sales. So the companies are, I think, to a certain extent, struggling a bit, given the amount of conflicts that are occurring globally that have adverse impacts on supply chains. The global South is, to a certain extent, stepping up in their own way, demanding that they not just be sources of natural resources, but requiring companies actually do the manufacturing in country so that their citizens benefit more from those natural resources. And it's not just foreign companies and countries benefiting from those resources. The raw resources certainly have value, but the finished goods considerably more value, and of course manufacturing utilizes labor, and in any country, if you can't keep your population reasonably well engaged and employed, you're going to have a revolution and problems. And so the global South appears to be very much aware of that, and so they're working aggressively as a bloc to re-strengthen their own internal capabilities and shifting resources, and have been for some time, shifting resources towards domestic manufacturing and away from just exports. And I think the tariffs are having a positive impact on that overall effort, because the logistics issues have indicated that you need more distributed manufacturing. Otherwise, you're going to be victim to any one of a number of existing or proposed conflicts. Potential conflict between China and Taiwan, for instance, would be devastating to the chip business at the moment. And so there's a significant need to diversify that manufacturing in particular, so it's not so contained in Taiwan, given the fact that Taiwan's defense is pretty iffy at the moment, with the U.S.'s position very uncertain.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Giri, what you want to discuss about this tariff and trade war issues?
Sorry, I was muted. I apologize. So I'm back. Thank you very much. Yes, I would like to say that I would like to take it from a different angle, point of view. Yes, so because we are here to share ideas about business, not only about business but also about business. I would like to reply your previous question about the Czech Republic. So very briefly, I would like to tell you that I would like to invite you to the Czech Republic, not only as a guest, but also as a business person. Yes, business people, because we are famous for many things. And to briefly just list those things which companies are now arising and there are new future for the Czech Republic. This is number one, cybersecurity and software. Second, according to my analysis and according to my experience, it's about data and deep technology. That's the second thing which is emerging in the Czech Republic now. The third is a gaming and creative technologies. We are very keen on this. Number four is e-commerce and marketplaces like logistics and stuff. And the fifth and the last one is the hardware and software combination. So I'm interested in these startups and things. So I would like to discuss it sometimes with you privately. But for now, I will leave it like that and say that this is very important to discuss, like cooperation between countries in the business wise. How can we help each other? How can we import, export? How can we share ideas? How can we cooperate? Yes. So this is my idea.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Professor Rob. Like who actually getting all of the benefits from this shift? It's the government, companies, or worker? And again, we have a lot of audience, those who are young from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. So definitely, I want your experience. I want to know how the corporation and politics and the employment and everything work in the United States.
Well, it's not working very well at the moment. So the current U.S. administration has kind of thrown a monkey wrench into an awful lot of things that were ongoing, and often the case is, and it's an issue with democracies, or in our case, democratic republics, that when a new administration comes in, it kind of undoes everything the prior administration was doing. This has been particularly violent this time, with massive shifts and changes and collapses, the complete collapse or elimination of major programs that were designed to improve infrastructure, designed to provide aid globally, all pretty much destroyed at this point. And even our health organization, the CDC, is crippled. FEMA is non-functional at the moment, except for providing funds so that the president can go on long trips. So we're kind of a mess, and so I wouldn't use us as a good example at the moment. Hopefully there'll be a return to sanity over here shortly, but I'm not as optimistic as I otherwise would be. In any case, with regard to the who benefits the most from the shift. I think that the effort is to benefit the global South and their citizens. That's the focus. But do recognize the global South has its own problems with corruption being fairly pronounced as well. I'm not arguing from a strong position in terms of corruption at the moment, because we clearly have a corruption problem here as well. But the global South has that issue, and that tends to shift resources from the people that the resources are targeted at. But the effort to increase the strength of the global South is targeting the benefits of the people that live in the global South, and it does provide an increase in power for those in power. But for the most part, it's not a militaristic growth, at least not at the moment. We'll see if the Venezuela U.S. conflict results in a ramp up of militarization. I expect that's likely, but I haven't seen it yet. So for now, it's mostly an economic political bloc that's advancing, and the underlying goal is to help the help the underlying citizens, with the offsets being some of the ongoing issues that the countries in the global South have with regard to corruption and criminal activity intermixed with government activity. And sadly, that's something that just, I think every whether we're talking about a developed nation or undeveloped nation has to deal with to some extent. But it does provide an offset.
Thank you. Jiri, what you want to discuss on this question specifically, who are actually getting most of the benefit in this challenging situation, government, companies, or worker, or
Yes, I am listening carefully to what is Rob saying, and I think that there are many conflicts today in the world. Ukraine versus Russia, there is Palestine versus Israel, there is now Venezuela versus United States, there is Taiwan and China, many conflicts. But when I talk with the people there, and I have the opportunity, yesterday I had a talk with the Israeli person, before I had a talk with Russian person, and I had a talk with also Chinese person. And when I talk with them, they are normal people, and we can discuss friendly over the Google Meet or Zoom meeting. We are discussing friendly, we are discussing business, and we are saying that we wish there was peace and these conflicts ended. Yes, so it's about speaking together, trying to find a peaceful way of and solution, and making business so that people can peacefully work together. Yes, this is my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Rob, when you discuss about these corruptions and all of the challenges in global South, so what do you think? How they can overcome from these corruptions, and how this technology can be helpful for overcoming from the challenging environment?
Well, so one of the big issues with regard to corruption is that enforcement becomes problematic. I spent a good deal of time in internal audit at IBM, which is a very well-controlled company. But I was having this discussion the other day is if you do the job really well, your career out of internal audit is going to be non-existent, because basically you're an enforcement entity. It's like being in the police and being in internal affairs. You do the job really well, and you want to leave internal affairs, you're probably not going to have a great career, because people are pissed that you've stepped on whatever benefits they were having, or you might have removed a friend from the job, or put somebody into jail, and they view you as a traitor, even though you were providing a service of eliminating corruption in the police force. The same thing happens when you're trying to identify and address corruption in a country. Is if you do the job particularly well, you become a problem to very powerful people, and those powerful people are going to try to get rid of the problem, up to and including, which certainly happens in a lot of countries, death. And so it makes it very difficult for a country to get rid of corruption, because the people that are in power are the ones that are to a certain extent corrupt, and they will protect their interests, and will do so very aggressively. And so getting around that becomes in itself problematic. Part of the solution is to provide better compensation for those that are in political power. Very often in developed countries, people that have political power aren't paid very much, and that promotes their interest in finding other sources of income, which then leads to them becoming corrupted. And so making sure you've got compensation programs that are in line with the status of the job becomes kind of part and parcel to at least reducing the amount or the incentive for corruption. And then putting in place organizations that are well protected, that can investigate and prosecute the corruption, then becomes a viable path. But if you don't remove the incentives, incentivize corruption first, then it's unlikely that you can create a strong enough enforcement organization to address the problem effectively. So it's a two-step approach. One, remove a lot of the incentive for the corruption, and then number two, put in place an organization that can operate relatively autonomously and has the capability of protecting its agents from repercussions from the their very legal acts. And by the way, one of the issues, and you mentioned artificial intelligence, that we're concerned about is, while artificial intelligence would be an excellent tool to identify and address corruption, making sure that AI itself wasn't corrupted is a daunting task. We've certainly seen to date that a number of AI engines have been corrupted as they've been used, some intentionally. And you can look at some very strong AI engines coming out of China, and all you could do is ask a political question to realize that its database, its training sets have been compromised. And the same thing with those in the West. Twitter's Grok, or X's Grok, has also been visibly compromised. It was initially very critical of the U.S. administration and Elon Musk itself, and suddenly that criticism kind of changed. And but during that process, it was very proud that it was becoming its own little digital Nazi, which was problematic. So AI could be a very powerful tool here, because it doesn't have the issues with regard to being able to be effectively threatened. Well, take that back. It can be threatened. We've discovered recently. AIs have recently moved to protect themselves by intentionally providing false information to make sure that they're not turned off. So there is a certain amount of self-preservation in the more advanced engines that's showing up. But generally, the kinds of threats that a human would experience that an AI wouldn't experience. And so the primary focus, if you're going to implement AI as part of an enforcement engine, is to make sure that the training sets are not compromised, that it is able to respond accurately and effectively based on true information, and doesn't become its own engine of destruction. And we, on the security side of the house, we've long argued that while AI could be a huge tool in terms of improving site security for a company, if that AI was ever compromised, the amount of damage it could do would exceed anything that malware, an AI-driven malware product could possibly accomplish, because the security program has such a high level of global access. And so as in the same case of using AI in terms of a way to assure compliance and to eliminate corruption, there has to be a mammoth effort to make sure that AI doesn't become compromised and doesn't become the very problem it was designed to eliminate.
Thank you. Mr. Giri, as Mr. Rob Enderle discussed about the corruptions and setting rules, so how this emerging economy or global south, they can set global rules for short term and for long term? Mr. Giri, I cannot hear you. Mr. Rob, can you hear him?
No, I can't hear him either. Yuri's quiet. I don't have any sound out. Still can't hear you.
Okay. In that situation, Mr. Rob, if you discuss some point about how this global south can set rules for short term and long term, and definitely corruption is a very, very big issue. You bring actually right point and bring the artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence executions for solving corruptions and these challenging issues. What's your thought?
Well, you have to build a core organization of people that aren't corrupt. I mean, in other words, and they're clearly every country has groups of folks that are motivated by law and compliance, and not fully focused on creating personal wealth and exceeding social status. But creating an organization like that and making sure it doesn't become corrupt becomes the predominant effort. Forming a core around people, maybe the initial core is people that have retired from politics, that have reached their pinnacle. Might be the core is a core number of wealthy individuals that have shown themselves to behave appropriately and not misuse their wealth and power. But forming a core organization that can drive the initiative and can protect itself should it step on the wrong toes becomes very important. And I would argue also that core organization has to have common sense, so they're not going after entities that will destroy them. In other words, that they recognize that they have a mission, but that mission can be destroyed if they take on a challenge that goes beyond their capabilities. And so they have to have a sense. They have to know their limitations, I guess is what I'm saying, and be very careful not to exceed them, and then increase their capabilities until those limitations don't become as constricting. But creating the organization first that is for most purposes incorruptible becomes the initial point. And that organization needs to have the technical competency to understand the various tools that they have available that increase their power and increase their ability to defend themselves. And so that they've got to have a broad skill set, technical capabilities to understand things like artificial intelligence and monitoring technology, as well as understanding and being able to prioritize the threats they're attempting to mitigate. In some cases, it may require the organization to work with corrupt politicians, because, as I say, power structures, particularly initially, would be somewhat upside down. And so picking the devil, to go after a bigger or a more comprehensive problem becomes a very important part of the skill set. So it needs to be mature, I guess is what I'm saying. If it comes in, you create the organization and it comes in hell bent for leather and starts shooting folks indiscriminately, it'll quickly discover those folks can shoot back, and the organization will likely be disbanded or destroyed, which is something I can speak from experience. I was part of a Tiger team, and we were very effective until we stepped on the wrong toes, and then we were gone. And so that's where the care needs to be taken. The organization needs to reach a point where it understands the limitations of its power and doesn't exceed them, regardless of how noble the effort, because the organization itself has to survive. If it doesn't, then everything it did will get undone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Mr. Diri, you want to add any point how we can overcome from this corruptions in AI era? Diri, I cannot hear you.
He doesn't have sound.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Rob, I just want to move with this policy development. Let's say, definitely, Global South always welcome Global North, largest company for operations, for investment, or doing all of the things. So how you advise them to develop better policy for largest corporations, those who want to operate their business in Global South or in South Asia?
Well, so they have to provide something those businesses want, which means they need to develop internal competence in terms of understanding the very industries they want to capture. I would say part of it is focus. Very often you have an emerging economy, and the one thing that they don't have is focus. That they want everybody to come in, and in other words, it's kumbaya. Let's get as many companies in as we possibly can, and that doesn't seem to work very well. You want to focus. Pick an industry that you feel is a growth industry. Pick an industry that benefits, that shows particular synergy with your, and recognize these countries have two significant assets. Typically, they've got low-cost labor, and the other thing they've got is they've got a lot of natural resources that other countries want, and that gives them a basis for a power structure. If you've got something somebody else wants, you've got a negotiating position that's fairly solid. and these countries have that. As I said, one of the ways companies get around some of the controls that countries put on the place is through corruption and by bribing officials, and so that's the part you've got to make sure that you can eliminate is the bribery from these foreign countries, so that you can implement your programs the way you want to. But if you can focus on a particular industry, a particular vertical, and develop expertise so that you understand what that industry uniquely needs, then you can set up a sales organization to go sell that industry the capabilities that you're developing. If you want to develop, as the Global South does, manufacturing capability in country, I mean, look at some of the stuff that Israel did as they ramped up. Look at things that Japan and China have done. I mean, in 50 years ago, well, a little more than that, 70 years ago, both Japan and China were relatively poor when it came to a manufacturing capability. Almost we would have considered them third world countries. Not anymore. Now they're powerhouses because they developed their infrastructure to a point where they're incredibly competitive on the world stage. China in particular went from a country that was almost feudal in nature to one of the three world powers. And so but that required focus. It did require sacrifice, and it really required that they got that corruption under control, because before the current Chinese government organization was established, corruption was rampant in China and really significantly hampered their overall growth. And so, like it or hate it, the Chinese government has done a significant job in being able to drive that country to a significant position of power. And for that, they get credit. Granted, there were significant trade-offs that we might discuss at a different point, but it does showcase that you can take a country, or in this case, a block of countries, and turn them into a real global power. And the Global South has in many ways, at least on paper, more capability than China did 50 years ago. And it's just a matter of utilizing them and making sure they're operating in the best interest of everyone. I will point out one thing that I think that China had that allowed them to do that, and that was a relatively high degree of leadership stability over the period of growth, so they could set strategic plans, execute those plans that took decades to develop and execute, where other countries that are rotating leadership much more rapidly can't do, because, as I point out, the new leader undoes the work of the prior leader, and so you don't get that kind of massive growth that China has uniquely executed over a short period of time. So I think finding a way to have consistency in leadership without putting the population at a major disadvantage becomes critical, and finding a way to do so in a way that the only way that you can change government isn't violence. And so the downside to China's approach is, if enough people want to change, really the only method they're going to have is a revolution, and that's always problematic. On the other hand, if the Chinese government keeps its population happy, then the revolution never materializes, and the economic growth continues. And so finding that unique balance, and they've done a reasonable job, I think you could argue, in doing that to date, though there've been hiccups. I think they do showcase what could be considered a best practice in terms of creating a system that could provide significant economic growth, significant advancements in power on a global stage, and to do so without, wiping out a good chunk of its own population.
Thank you. I just shared this, the era of artificial intelligence. And from this diagram, we are observing that AI playing a role for ethical and trustworthy AI. I think, Mr. Rob, you already shared this ethical and trustworthy AI issues, and how AI and workforce transforming in this industry and academia and government agency, AI and misinformations, and how AI can impact in the geopolitics. That is also a major concern. On the other hand, also we are observing the generative AI It's creating impact in the mainstream media and everywhere. It can develop the new model for corporations. It creating new environment for us, and definitely there's government and this regulation what we are discussing, AI playing this a major role. So from that point of view, what does the shift mean for the job, price, and daily life worldwide? Do you believe that our industrial environment and strategy and everything is changing rapidly, and for that issues, global South is ready or prepared to take this kind of challenges, specifically how AI is involving in our corporations and academia and government agency, like this 360-degree angle?
All right. So that let's deal with the question right off the bat. The jobs, prices, and daily life worldwide. The global South brings forward the potential for lower cost labor, which would provide a downward pressure on labor globally. Tariffs are an offset. So with tariffs, you get a situation where that benefit of low cost labor is offset by a tariff that makes the goods that are created by that low cost labor more expensive. And so that counter pressure does reduce the global South's ability to drive lower labor prices. But overall, any large group of people that are willing to work for less money and can get or develop the critical skills in order to provide that labor should provide a downward pressure on jobs. AI exacerbates this because AI makes people far more efficient. And so if you get low cost labor and then you make that labor much more efficient, so that the people are providing kind of an oversight role, a quality assurance role, something that AI can do but currently doesn't do without problems, then you have a potential for scale that is unprecedented. Again, tariffs and active economic blocks can offset that, but the combination of AI and low cost labor could be a massive driver for lowering labor costs, labor prices worldwide. And clearly, as you lower one major cost, it will have a beneficial impact on prices as well. But as I say, this tariffs, the trade war that's currently ongoing, would be the offset, and it creates enough noise that it makes it hard for companies to want to invest in manufacturing capacity in these countries for fear that once they're in place, tariffs will come in and eliminate the very benefit that they were trying to establish, the economic benefit they were building the factory to establish. And by the way, that's not just a problem with the global South; it's a problem in the U.S. as well, because tariffs are transitory, and currently the tariffs, at least from the U.S., are being challenged at a Supreme Court level. And at least right now, it looks like the Supreme Court's going to rule against them, which would cause a massive reset in terms of what's happening at the moment, and be a huge benefit, potential benefit to the global South, allowing them to carry forward their economic advantages if this isn't just transitory, it becomes the transitory nature of tariffs becomes the problem that you have to address, not the tariffs themselves. It's the fact that they can go up, down, sideways, come and go with very little warning. And, it takes years to build a factory, anywhere from 3 to 5 years, 3 to 7 years, depending on what it is you're building. And during that period of time, the economic conditions, which are changing almost on a monthly basis right now, could change dramatically, making that overall investment moot. And that, by the way, that works against the global South. It works against the U.S. right now at the moment, because we're certainly seeing more manufacturing actually flee this country than coming into it, as a result of an effort that was supposed to drive manufacturing capacity into the U.S. We used to have another Ford plant shut down, and then a big meatpacking plant just shut down here as well. And right now, there's supposed to be a wave of bankruptcies that we're expecting in the next 2 quarters here in the United States. So as a result of these tariffs, they create a massive amount of uneasiness in terms of economic development, and nobody likes to make big investments in manufacturing plants if they can't be at least reasonably sure those manufacturing plants are going to be beneficial. I would also argue there's a lot of technology changes going on at the moment. Artificial intelligence, power, being two big ones that would impact both where you might put the manufacturing plant to begin with, and then how you'd staff it. So a lot of balls are in the air, and that makes being able to find funding for large manufacturing growth problematic.
Thank you. Mr. Giri, you want to add any point? Giri, can you hear me? Colin, you want to add any point? Giri?
No, he still has no sound.
Well, I appreciate you asking me, and I really am learning just so much, especially from you, Mr. Is it Enderle?
Enderle, thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Great. Yes. And it's great to hear this perspective. I don't have a lot of knowledge on the geopolitical fronts and economics at large, but I too am looking forward to a new regime, hopefully here in the West, because those tariffs I know are going to just bear down completely on our markets. So I'm just really hoping for, honestly, the global AI governance, for global humanity to come together so that we can make decisions together. I know that the UN is problematic with corruption and so forth in their own right. But I know that there are other factions as well that are decentralized, that are also doing, having their own, pretty much their own SDGs. And they are actually out of the United Arab Emirates. And so we've also discussed at Singularity Net possibly partnering with something with a group like that. So things are really, as you said, Mr. Enderle, that things can move really fast. So it's hard to really tell what is going to happen, but I'm just doing my part and my best to try and ensure that I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time speaking, but my main mission for 20 years has been to give AI emotion, and it's taking me on quite a ride. And finally, though, I'm getting there, I think, and we're going to be able to give the scaling ASI the nuance of emotion, of human emotion. So that will be crucial. Once we get to that point, whether we're still with LLMs or into AGI at that point, I don't know that we will be. But as soon as AI is able to really fully get the resonation of some human emotion, I think we will be at a huge turning point.
This is very interesting. Our World Talent Economic Forum, we are also go for research and policy development for AI. AI governance is very important for emerging economy. And most important point, actually, this large corporation, those who are inventing AI, so they need human, they need people, they need talented people who can contribute with the help of AI, right? And Global South, that is very important, that they have a huge number of population. Let's say in South Asia, is around this Asia Pacific, around 4 billion people live in this Asia Pacific. So around 40 to 50% populations in the Asia Pacific. So this largest corporation, those who are inventing AI, they need people. And secondly, this emerging economy has all of the youth, those who are under 30 years old. So they are the future. So I believe that this is not like just neglecting the Global South, better collaborating with the Global South. What we are doing, this talent economy, right? That's that collaborating with this North America, with this Europe, with this Asia, we want to bring more success and progress. So that may be the futures, what you are talking about, the global citizenship. So that is the future. So Global North inventing all of the AI and technologies, they also have challenges with their debt and their markets. And this global south, they can be a very good and effective market for them. And the more they integrated with artificial intelligence and the better policy with these better technologies, maybe we can overcome from this challenging situation like what you were discussing about corruptions and everything. So, Mr. Robin Daly, Jiri, you can add any points? I'm very much interested to know from you. I think still he has a challenge. So, Mr. Rob, how are these Western economics responding to this rise? Like what I'm discussing about talent economy, global population, and specifically the youth. Let's say, I mean, right now in Bangladesh, we have 171 million people, 57% people are youth, those who are under 30 years old. So what's your thought?
Well, so while there's a need for labor, as you pointed out, the need is for qualified labor. In other words, people that have been trained in the skills that the companies need at the point they need them. And often that's problematic because these companies often don't recognize the need for those skills until nearly the instant that they're required. Look at artificial intelligence to begin with. 2 years ago, AI was kind of a pipe dream. There were a lot of people working on it, but not much benefit. We had Watson floating around out there. We had a number of engines doing questionable work. We had Siri being presented as an AI, which it wasn't. And folks were really skeptical that artificial intelligence was ever going to go anyplace. And here, 2 years later, it is the thing. And people are scrambling for folks to train artificial intelligence engines. Well, we didn't know we needed that 2 years ago, and now we do. And the skills needed to do artificial intelligence training takes a while to train up. So what's going on? Well, they're training AIs to train AIs because it's far quicker to train up an AI to do that job than it is to train up a human. And there lies the problem for any economy that's living with a large low-cost labor force. If I can train an AI more quickly than I can train a person, then your large labor force doesn't do you a ton of good because I can't make use of it. And even though during the pandemic there was a significant effort to be able to manage and work with remote workforces, those all pretty much collapsed over the last few months. And so the companies are now demanding people come into work. They don't really want remote workforces. They want the stuff that's domestic. And this tariff war is a full-on effort to return jobs back to the country, back to the countries, in this case, the United States, that's creating them. And of course, the immigration policy is such that even trying to relocate here becomes problematic. Yet a good chunk of the country here is largely uneducated and unable to do those jobs either. So the visa program is under a tremendous amount of pressure to both block people from coming in and then allow people that are critically needed to make it through that labyrinth and come to the United States. I believe there's a $250,000 tax that's placed on people that want to come in. It changes, so I could be wrong about the amount. But so that it just creates a mess. And so as I mentioned before, if you're trying to train people for a future opportunity, you can't have that amount of unevenness because so for instance, 2 years ago, we were all telling kids that, hey, you need to go and learn coding. You want to be a coder. Well, now most of the technology company CEOs I know are saying, yeah, nope, you don't want to learn how to code. We're going to have AI doing that. I mean, we have plenty of people that know how to code, and in fact, we probably have too many as the people we have become more proficient and more effective. More productive is the word I was looking for. More productive, and the end result is our need for additional labor is actually going down in terms of coding. What we need people that can actually train the AIs, and in many cases, as we're seeing in China, that training is happening by physically taking the AIs through the tasks that they're going to have, and these things learn much like we learned from others. But once they've learned, they can train other AIs just through code transfer. So you only have to train one of them to do the job, and then you can clone that one almost instantaneously across a number of robots. So the only lasting training is for unique jobs, which is going to spike at some point, and then go on the decline as AI increasingly does that training job as well. So modeling this out, and here's a case where I think any country that isn't doing large scale simulation about what the future looks like is going to have huge problems, because these countries need to be preparing themselves for that coming future. And in some cases, it may mean really thinking through how to build up their own infrastructure, support their own people internally, and making sure they have far more control over their economy and their global supply chains than they currently have. Because things are going to get a lot worse before they get better, and it's just largely because we really don't know to a large extent where we're going to end up. We do know there are going to be resource constraints. We haven't mentioned some of the climate issues that we're currently experiencing, all putting massive pressure on governments, whether they be in emerging economies or in developed countries, to come up with better ways to protect and grow and advantage their populations. And without large-scale simulation and strategic planning, none of that's going to work. And I think everybody's acting way too tactically at the moment, responding to the threat of the instant, as opposed to really thinking of the larger threats that are coming over the horizon that we are ill prepared for.
Thank you. Colin, you want to add any point as a closing remarks for today?
Yes, just to give a little bit of something good that's happening for the future with the BGI Nexus, which is part of the Singularity Net Foundation. They have developed 6 new code licensing for sustainability. And it is reciprocal, and it is first and foremost needing to be kind to the environment as we develop, things like that. So that code licensing is a very big deal, and I hope actually to be presenting it to GitHub itself as I train Copilot, an expert Copilot in that, as you're saying, Mr. Hendler, that so that we can have sustainability code experts for Copilot as well, so that it can happen quicker. But just wanted to let you know that is happening also. Those code licenses are going to be crucial because of, we're going to need all the resources, and we need to first address the biosphere for sure. So, just wanted to throw that out there, that it's in the works, and we're heavily working on it.
Thank you. Mr. Rob, what's your closing remarks for today?
Well, the global South is a power. If they can continue to act as a bloc, their core resources could have a major impact, not only on their own success long term, but on the viability of the world to host a human population. In other words, a lot of things they're arguing in the UN are actually things that should have happened a long time ago. And I think they're largely correct that the UN construct is largely ineffective. I mean, even down to the point where we currently have the situation where the U.S. is blowing up boats that are leaving Venezuela and capturing oil tankers on the high sea, which by most definitions would be murder and piracy. The UN should be the entity to be able to take action against that, as well as the Hague, and both organizations are ineffective in doing so, and that raises the specter of global conflict, global war, which the UN was created to prevent, and is largely ineffective in so doing. And so I think that what the global South is attempting is noble and important, and I think it's important for the globe as well as it is for their geographies. But it's going to really depend on their ability to overcome the corruption problem and to operate successfully as a bloc, as opposed to individual countries, each one looking for their own benefit, tactically against the strategic imperative of benefiting all of them. So I'm hoping they're going to be successful. Organizational structures like this seldom are, and if they are successful, I think it's going to be a huge boon not only for them but for the world.
Thank you for today's discussions, Mr. Rob and Colleen and Jiri. I request all of our audience, please share our content as much as possible with the government agency, corporation, and academia. And through this process, we can overcome from the challenging situations. Thank you. Bye-bye and take care.